I'd like to make a couple of announcements. One, I'd like to welcome Alicia as a trustee. Trustee Alicia Williams is our newest member, and we're pleased to have her. And I'd also like to announce that we're working on Bill's evaluation, and I haven't gotten forms from anyone but one person, so I would like to get those in the next day or so. We'll talk about the process for that later on. Discussion items, and this is the presentation by DeForest Area School District. So I would love to have you guys come forward. Yep, turn it on. There you go. And then just remember, you have to speak close to that mic. It doesn't pick up all that well.
Okay. Okay, so it'll be old school, go, or new. All right, I'm Dr. Tates. I'm the school superintendent. I've met most of you, but not all. So, and then I'll have you introduce yourself too.
Yeah, hi, Jeff Hahn. I'm one of the school board members.
And we thank you we want to give you an update, and I'm going to let Jeff take the lead on getting us started. So.
Yeah, we'll go to the first slide. So really, we're here tonight to thank the community, right, for the referendum pass. That's the reason we're here tonight. We're just do a few highlights of what that really meant to the community, where the money's going. So in the first slide, we talked about really this is what we investigated, right? So this was, we have these framework themes. So those that aren't familiar with framework, we do framework every 10 years. We do a 5-year checkup. And these were the things that came out of some of those priorities that emerged from the community engagement sessions that we did, including some of the things from framework. So support instructional programming, retaining staff, right, maintain the facilities, technology, and safety. Those are the 3 main topics that came from the community engagement sessions, as well as what we had for these we had these updates all the time that we did with the community, and then we asked their opinion. So that's what that was.
And it's a big thank you to the community because it successfully passed. And Jeff's going to explain where that $7.9 million is going.
Yeah, so here's where the money went. So just so you guys all know, we actually looked at 3 different segments of what we needed. And we went with the managed, right? The maintained part. We didn't really do a lot of extra programming. We went with the bare minimum of what we wanted for money. So we kept the money. It was very generous, but we kept it very modest, right, for what we asked for. So again, some of the big things we did, right? Prioritizing the additions, managing class sizes, safety SRO, gifted and talented programs, and we made math and behavioral intervention support. So those were adding some teachers, right? So we did add some staff, and I'll just cover some of that, right? So the $7.9 million is being used. It was an operational referendum. It was the maintained area, right? So we did this for all the maintenance of what we wanted, with some limited additions. Managing class sizes, right? So we did add teachers in the area of encore and electives. Some of those for band, tech ed, business, PE, et cetera. Some of those elective courses. Many of those elective classes were at the size of capacity. So 30 kids is what we think was a large class size. So we reduced some of those numbers now for the number of kids per class. And then we maintained the 16 teachers that were funded by the ESSER dollars. And the ESSER dollars were COVID relief money, right? So some of the additional money we got from COVID, that was removed. So we got to keep those 16 positions from some of this referendum. We did increase our capital maintenance budget. So it's just costing more money to maintain the buildings and our facilities. So we added more money to our capital maintenance budget. And then cash flow maintenance requirements. So that's our little nest egg, right? So we put some more money back to that. Is that fair? If we call
So that's our fund balance, which is our savings account. And we take a lot of pride in the district of being a AA+ bond rated district, one of a handful in the state out of 420 districts. And the reason we get that rating is because we don't have to do short-term borrowing to pay our people, because we don't get money from the state until the fall, but we start the fiscal year in July. And most districts have to short-term borrow. And because of that, they have sometimes a lesser bond rating because of the borrowing. That bond rating allows us then, when we need to go to a capital referendum, to get really good deals on loans if needed. So that bond rating really helps in a growing district, knowing that over time, we likely will have another capital referendum at some point. We want to keep that bond rating really strong so that the community doesn't have to pay interest on a loan as high a rate. So this is making sure our savings account is stronger.
So I mentioned earlier about framework themes. So those of you that know about this framework for our future, so we do these every 10 years. We have a 5-year check-in. And really what we ask, like what we think as a community, what we need, we ask our community for input on that. So I don't know if any of you been a part of framework. I see some heads nod. Okay, so you guys know a little bit about framework. So we're really proud to really, when we say, hey, what do we really need? We're asking the community. We're not just making these arbitrary decisions in a vacuum, right? And thinking what we think the students and parents want. We're asking them for their opinion. And I think we have a handout that's going to be at the tables. Is that right? Perfect. You got that. So you can actually go to that, right, and look at how that was, and then I believe that'll give us what the last framework was. It'll kind of show you what those priorities were on that framework.
Right. And so one of the things we want to make sure our community sees is those themes or the priorities. And you'll notice on the numbers on the right side, those are prioritized by dots. So the community members had dots literally, and these were all posted on posters, and community members went around and ranked where they wanted us to focus. And so you can see that some of the things that came out of this is the strong support for our staff, that we know that good teachers and staff equate to good, solid instruction. So that definitely comes through at the top. Academic and career planning and making sure our students have some post-graduation pathways clearly defined. That also is a strong priority of the community and something we continue to spend a lot of time on, and making sure that we provide for our students. And then behavior, that became a big theme out of the 2023 framework event. And so we've put a lot of effort into consistent responses to behavior. And I'll be sharing some of that with you as well. And then you can see the rest ranked from the community. So this is a chance to kind of touch base with everybody again in the community. We're running a bunch of these sessions to see, are we at the same spot? Is this what we all still find as a priority? Are there things that we need to be considering? So we'll be asking some of those questions later as well. Oh, I have to get back, I think.
Yeah, when you get back, anyway, a lot of the things that we got from framework and a lot of things that we have with our stakeholder groups, when we talked about referendum, they aligned, right? So a lot of the things aligned up. So when we looked at, when the referendum came out, we made sure that we aligned framework with the stakeholder sessions that we had. So we were very comfortable what we were asking aligned with our community.
So now I get to update you on our priorities. So you have in front of you something called our annual report booklet. And we're going to use that to look at together. If you could turn to page 8 and 9 in particular, those are some things that I'll be calling out there around our data. So as a district, the community has ranked pathways and opportunities for our students as a high priority. And a way that we measure that is through college and career and life ready indicators. We align to the research around redefining ready, which is a national research base about what makes a student ready. And so these are indicators of what the world sees as students being ready for the world. And so we measure along the way. These are our seniors that graduated last year and how they are doing. So in the redefining ready indicators, the research says that a student that gets a 2.8 or higher is an indicator of success. And so you can see a status there of where our graduates landed with that redefining ready indicator. You can also see that advanced placement classes and exams are a component of being ready, especially college ready. And you can see the number of students that have taken AP classes. We have exponentially increased our opportunities for our students to have AP classes in just the last 8 years. And we're really staying competitive with our Dane County peers in particular. And we know we also have a lot of work to do with that. We not only need our students to take the classes, we need them to pass at a level that at a level 3 or higher, especially if they want that credit for it. So again, we have celebrations in here. We also have work to do. Another thing I want to point out that it was really important to the community is that we have workplace learning. So you'll notice that our students, we have 58 graduates last year that took part in workplace learning. And what that is being able to do an apprenticeship with the workforce development as a background to it. They take a day out of their week where they go and they work, or actually it's every other day they go and work and we pay them. Now it can only be for juniors and seniors. And actually we don't pay them, sorry, the company pays them as the apprenticeship. So we do a lot of work with the students on this. Our teachers actually were overseeing this before. And part of the referendum is that we were able to get a career technical education coordinator who oversees that program, and we're doubling the amount of students that are doing workplace learning this year because of that. So we're really optimistic that our students are going to have these awesome experiences. We get great feedback from our area businesses about this as well. So it's a partnership with them. Some other things to point out that we're really proud of is our financial literacy requirement as well. That's a state requirement. I believe at the end of next year, we've been ahead of the game on that. We put that in as a graduation requirement a couple of years ago, and our students have really shown that they really love the pathways we've created in financial literacy. They can choose between a core class on anything from balancing your checking account all the way to advanced placement economics class. So students have choices of ways to get their financial literacy requirement, which again, I think the community prides itself on making sure our students have choices in what they're doing at the high school level in particular. The last thing I want to show you on page 9 is on the very right side column, something called the Student Engagement Survey results. So I am held accountable as the administrator of the district for a lot of metrics, and one of them that I present to the board is our student engagement survey results. And one of the metrics I'm held to is having a 3.0 or higher on a 4-point scale. And this is the first year we've been able to say we met the mark in all areas, including our students in disaggregated groups. So that's a huge celebration for us to know that our students are feeling a sense of safety, connectedness, and that we give them opportunities to be prepared for the world. So this data is something we celebrate, and we also know that we have things to work on. Some things I want to highlight in the priorities on the slide to get all these things done is making sure we have strong, robust academic and career planning. That is a graduation requirement that our students present their ACPs. Many of you have been at those presentations, and if you ever want to do that in the spring, it's a great way to see our work. Where you actually sit on a panel and have our seniors explain all of their work, basically. So that is robust, and we're proud of that, and we want to keep that going. We added an advanced learning coordinator with the referendum dollars, which is gifted and talented support. That's something we didn't have as a district, and we're a bit of an outlier in Dane County and really in the state for not having that. And I'm really excited we do. She's wonderful. She's giving us already lots of great ideas and support for teachers to be able to help our students that are ready for some more advanced learning. I already mentioned apprenticeships and workplace, so I won't go into that. We have reduced class sizes. Mr. Hahn spoke about that. We also have done a lot of work on behavior expectations. There's a guiding document attached in these slides that have taken about 3 years of work since framework, so maybe 2 years, 2.5, about making sure we have common expectations, common definitions, common responses, and supports for our behavior. So again, it's a thing, something that came from the community that asking us to work on this, and we have still a lot of work to do with it, and we know that, but this is a great starting point that we have common language, common vision about what we want for our students and how to get there. Maintaining staff wages within 5%, that is a board expectation as well, a metric that we have to report to the board on how we're doing with that. And that is something the operational referendum was able to support as well. And the last component is about maintaining facilities, technology, and safety. Safety continues to be something that the community fully supports and expects us to keep our schools safe. So we work hard with our mental health partnerships that we have, SROs, and then we have a couple of relationships with the Department of Justice where we use an outlet called Speak Up, Speak Out, where students and families and community can report things that they maybe are worried about or that could see as a threat. And it goes directly to a DOJ, and they vet that information and then immediately share it with administration. I've gotten texts in the middle of the night about an event that we're able to actually intervene on before school starts. Again, not like a credible threat, but something that could have been something that we would definitely want to know and help with. And so it's just one of those things, again, just having those strong partnerships with our outside agents really helps us as a district and something we're proud of and thankful for. So that's an update on the district, and we're going to get to a spot where you can ask questions soon, but Mr. Hahn has a little bit more.
Yeah, so this is the finish line, right? We do all this stuff for this last page, right? Students result policy. There's 3 things that we hope, or we really are, we want all children to leave our district, being academic performance, right? That's the big one. Self-directed complex thinkers, collaborative and responsible citizens, right? So when the Board of Education says that this student, when they leave our district, are they these 3 things, right? This is what we hope that they are. And then framework themes and priorities of the last 25 years have helped inform the student result, help form the student result policies. The Board of Education defines and holds administration accountable for implementing these 3 things. This is what the Board of Education is asking our administration to do. Some examples, indicators the board monitors from these reports are academic state test results, student engagement survey results, and attendance and behavior data. So the administration, we'd like some feedback from you guys, right? We'd like some feedback. And the next slide has a little bit of some questions for you. So we would like you to answer these 2 questions, a little reflection. So, you know, when students leave the DeForest Area School District after achieving these results policies, what are the skills and behaviors you would expect them to have, right? What would you think?
Right, and we can turn it over to a conversation as well. These questions are meant for our community engagement sessions, so this might be easier to do a little bit of dialogue about, are we on track? Also, what questions might you have? What kinds of things do you want us to be thinking about as a school district? Any questions you heard from the information?
And we could do 1 or 2, right? I mean, the other one is, you know, what we should do, keep doing, start doing, or stop doing. We can leave it open, right? We don't have to go through and do question 1 first and question 2, but we'd love to hear some opinions.
All right. So lots of quick information here. So it's sort of
Yes.
sinking in with everyone. We can take questions and answer, provide feedback on these. So the one thing I would say we should keep doing is keep producing students with the kind of educational results we've been getting. And that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, Sushita.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing all this data. I think it's very important for everybody to know what's going on in the different changes. And so I think one of the things that you should definitely keep doing, the feedback from the students and the parents and the business individuals that were there, is preparing the students for life. And I think the shift in how the requirements for graduation have shifted over time, and having the students present what they've learned and how they're going to use it in life, especially the financial literacy piece. I was really excited that we were ahead of that mandate coming out. And so I think that we should definitely keep doing that. One of the things that I think we should start doing and really lean into is really taking the feedback from the students and the parents and seeing how does that align and integrate into what we're already doing. And even maybe getting some feedback of people who don't have kids in the school district, right? Because they definitely have some type of impact on that type of community member when you're growing and thriving littles all the way up through high school. So I think you guys do a great job of engagement and getting information with framework and different things of that nature. But I think leaning into people who don't have kids, like what would you like our community to say about what we're producing, even though you don't have kids?
Yeah, that's great. It's a hard stakeholder group for us to engage with. That's why we're doing some open sessions. And actually, I think I did put it on a slide too. These are open sessions for anyone to come, and there'll be a postcard going out right after the holidays for the January, February, March sessions in particular, a postcard to all residents in the district, because it is a really hard group to get connected with. And we want to definitely, because we need those partnerships, and also obviously they're a tax base and they're supporting us, and they need to know what we're doing and also give us critical feedback if needed too. So thank you.
It's one of our hardest things to do is we have a lot of community engagement sessions and to get people to come, right? I mean, we try to do them in different locations and different times and make people available. I'm assuming you're laughing because you have the same issues. But
Unless you want to put a sidewalk in, they'll all come.
but no, we have these great community engagement sessions, and we do struggle getting enough. We think we would like to have more people.
Pauline? No. I just didn't want to cough when I called your name. Trustee Little.
Kudos to you for the workplace learning experience. I know a couple of kids that went through that program, and not every kid is meant to go to a four-year university, and some kids just have natural abilities for making things work or whatever. So I think that's a great program.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, Jan.
First, thanks for coming and giving us all this information. A lot of impressive numbers. And I think most of the families here in DeForest realize that they're very lucky to have our school district to have their kids in. I know for myself, raising two girls here and graduating from DeForest not that long ago, they were in some of the beginning classes when you came out with the AP, and that worked out really well for them. And you know, getting them into college and having to take a little less there. So I want to thank you for everything you're doing. And I'm going to say, keep doing what you're doing, because I think you're doing a lot of great things. One thing that I really do like, and hasn't been really touched on yet, I don't believe, are the teachers and the staff. I think they're amazing, just from, you know, having my own kids go through, but then also just talking to all the other families and everything. I'm really happy with the staff, and I guess let's just keep doing what we're doing there and try to retain our people, because we've got good ones.
I appreciate you recognizing that. And that is a pillar of our continuous improvement plan, is called exceptional staff. And we spend time and intention on how to retain them. They are the cornerstone. They are what matters in a child's education. And what's great is that we're in a community that also supports that. When you go back to that prioritized list, having quality staff is in you know, making sure that they're compensated so that they want to stay. Compensation's not everything, but it is something. And when we talk about being within 5% of Dane County average, that means if we're average, we need to also be doing all the things that help them stay, not just money. So things like community support matters to teachers. When they don't feel supported, they go to other districts. So community support is something we can do all together. And then we do our part as a district with all the other things, making sure they have great facilities, they have the things they need to teach, their voice matters. Those are all components of that pillar of holding on to excellent staff. And board support matters too for staff. So again, we have a good thing going and we need to keep it.
No, I do think facilities make a huge difference. So people feel good about working at facilities that are updated, well maintained. You know, nobody wants to work in a facility that just doesn't feel good, right? So I'm really appreciative of the facilities we have. So
One of the kind of flipping that subject a little bit, Jim, did you have your hand up? Okay. Um, I- the issue that we keep hearing about here and is on our priority list to step work on, I don't know that we'll solve it, but we're trying to, is affordable housing for teachers and firefighters and policemen. Have you heard that to be a big issue for your teachers?
Yes, we have a compensation committee that comes together, not, it's usually annually, deeper every couple years. And that is one of the things that they bring forward regularly is that it's hard to find housing that's affordable. Our support staff in particular, that's a very difficult and oftentimes they need a second income coming in or they live in another community and commute.
And that's easy then to go somewhere else if you're already
Mhm.
commuting. Yes, got it. Yes, Alicia?
Kudos to you guys for the student engagement survey. You noted that, maybe the scores, I don't know if you alluded to the scores were lower, but I want to know what do you think brings into raising that score? And you talked briefly about groups, other groups. And so I was just curious what you attribute to the overall increase.
Good question. One of the things we really attribute to it is student voice. So we've been much more intentional about incorporating student voice into things like course selection, even new courses that get created. Trying to make sure if we're making a change that we work with student groups to find out their input on it. It might not be a change that they like, but at least we've worked through with them what are the parts that we can try to help in the barriers with students. And actually, we have student voice written into board policy now. That it's something that the board went through a policy review in 22. And in those policies, there's more of a requirement that we utilize student voice. The behavior document that's linked up there or in the slides, students also had a voice in. So I think the more that we can engage our kids to help with improving our district, I think that's where we see some of those scores increase. The other thing is we've been really intentional about allowing a lot of student groups, and we have all kinds of groups that have an opportunity to come together and celebrate their differences and their similarities. And so that's another thing that I think is a big celebration of the district is that our students have an opportunity to have all kinds of abilities to come together and share their thoughts. I get emails and advocacy for them all the time. So those are things that really have been intentional and we need to continue. Those are hard things too, because it takes time and also working through a lot of barriers that sometimes we don't have total control over, but we try with the students to help them understand.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes, Jim.
So forgive me if I don't use the right terms, but I know my daughter, she went through school here too, and she worked for a realtor for a period. I think that was what you're calling the work share program, and say that was very beneficial to her. So I'm very happy that you grew that program. So the question that I want to say is a bit of, say, the industry that I'm in right now or was in. I was a surveyor and an engineer now, and both of those industries are a bit short as far as people available. And I'm wondering how you do to connect the students to those industries. And then a follow-up question is, how do you help, say, those industries reach out to individuals at your school, or how can they help? Because I can think of some people I can maybe spin your way if you have, say, a STEM program that maybe they can interject your knowledge in and things like that.
So that would be awesome. That's one reason we do community engagement is that if there's groups of people. I mean, I just met with the chamber a week ago or so and said, if you're a business owner that is interested in youth place based learning, let us know. So that would be just email us. I mean, that literally, if you know of someone that we want to connect with. So that would be the adult side. The student side, it's really important that our teachers have all of this knowledge of workplace learning, because ultimately they help guide the students quite a bit, and our counselors, our school counselors. So our tech ed program is, we just added another teacher based off of the referendum dollars. And they are well aware of the need for the industry you just said. And they are working to recognize when students might be interested in that, and then literally coach the child or the student that they may want to, give that a try and connect with your counselor and connect them to the CTE coordinator. Do you want to add more?
Yeah, I actually, I ran a small business in Arlington, and it was in the dairy sector. So I reached out to the FFA department, talked to the advisors in the department, and then told them what I had for student work program. And then they gave me a few kids that might fit that need. And we hired kids. I think I did 3 years of that. And one of those kids is still with that company. So, I mean, it worked out really well for that child. So I encourage Jim, if you have those folks, to think about who they would connect with at the high school and have them reach out.
All right, Kathy Williams is with us. She's our community relations coordinator. She just wrote that down too. So feel free. People are like afraid sometimes to email me. It's okay to email me. I will forward it on. So thank you, Jim.
I'm a bit afraid Kathy might actually call me, so.
Just to add one thing on that too. So our local business community, particularly our larger employers, also very much appreciate the program and the work that Austin's doing over there. We just had a business, and they're all very much aware of this. We just had a business that relocated their headquarters to the business park, and I think last week even they were getting ready to open. They reached directly out to Austin and said, "Hey, let's connect and let's talk about it." So it's a great program.
Great.
When we did that framework, one of the largest requests from all the commerce people were to strengthen that program, right? They want to get people from, especially kids come out of school in our community, keep them here. And that was a big request from all the chamber people.
Shidra has a question.
Thank you. I just had one follow-up question, because I don't know if it's in here, and I wanted to know. So in terms of our school district and how we prepare our students, and there's workplace learning, do we have, or are we thinking about growing to the point where our students, while they're at our school, can partner? I know we have partnerships with like Madison College and different things of that nature where they can do like different trades, because I know a couple of kiddos in our community that does that. But I know I've visited a couple of different schools and attended a number of different graduations, and you'll see in their program that this student is graduating with an associate degree here because they were able to take classes while they were at the high school. Do we do that? And do we partner with other organizations like the McKinsey Foundation for helping our students understand trades and understand that there's other options above and beyond just going straight to college? Like, are we thinking about that for our students, like what they can do while they're in school to maximize their time, robust learning, and just really preparing them for, a brighter or a different kind of future or a different path that they may not have thought of in the first place?
Yes, yes, and so we partner with Madison College. Our students have opportunities to get dual credit in a couple different universities and Madison College. We do not do the dual getting an associate degree, and there's positives and challenges with that, and it's something I think we would explore more if we hear more about that. Then your other question is about giving them a solid foundation in the trades, understanding the trades. And yes, that's a part of this workplace learning, is really making sure that they know the pathways. So we have every elective class is attached to the 16 career clusters that are a part of these trades. And so we want our students, even as a freshman, to start to explore the career cluster that they're interested in, and then have an experience where maybe even they don't like it, so then they can go choose another one. That's ultimately what we want our students in high school to really have, those experiences, so that they come out ready for the real choices that they need to make. I know my children are grown and they changed majors so many times in college, they would have really benefited from having a high school experience more like the one we provide. Because I think that if they had known some of the things they could have tried in high school, that would have helped. So I think it helps for the college readiness and also the career readiness side, that our students really get exposed early to those trades. And we want them to make choices so that they can flip around in high school a little bit more. I know I've given the story before of our students that take a health class that's preparing them for their CNA. And like the child learns really quickly, they cannot stand bodily fluids. And they quickly learn in high school, at least then, that maybe they're not going to go be a frontline pediatrician in the ER, but that they might want to be in research or, more of on the other side of the medical field. So those are the kinds of things we want to give our students. That was a long answer to your question. The McKinsey Foundation that you mentioned, is that?
That's one of them.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest one in Madison that I know of. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit of partnership there, but again, we could explore more of that, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on then. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Helpful
Good questions.
information. And we will look forward to working with you as time goes on here. Well, is this in our packet? No. Thank you.
Right, thank you for your time.
All right. We will continue with department updates. Administration.
Yeah, two updates here. One, just reporting back on Churchill condos and repairs over there. They are through the stormwater items and the regrading items. So we are all owing to the court a report back, and so we should be concluded on that soon, hopefully. And then at a previous meeting, we had discussed a claim from dried up drainage that has been resolved to my knowledge. They ended up taking the deal.
Okay. That was good. Thank you. Finance update. Carol.
Yeah, I'll just let you know that the PSC has reviewed our water rate study and sent some questions. We have till the end of the week to respond to those questions, so we should be hearing back from them fairly soon after that.
Good. Thank you. Police Department, Chief Olson, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. I really don't have anything to update this week. Thank you.
Okay. Public service update.
You bet. Again, thank you for your patience with the Highway V project. We're moving along as quickly as we can. We'll be paving from where we left off, mid-block by the Cornerstone, just before the railroad tracks. We'll be paving from there to Stevenson starting tomorrow, and it might open up late next week. We'll have some striping and other things to do, like landscaping in the terraces there. But the trail and the road section there will all be paved across the railroad tracks. We'll still have work to do east of Stevenson. So Stevenson going towards Highway 51. There's some stormwater things that we need to do, and then we'll be able to do that final surface and then work on the trail part there.
Okay, great.
County Highway CV, what's that?
No, I wasn't moving on.
Oh, questions on V? All right, Highway CV, Lake Road, south of us, closing Wednesday next week for 2 to 3 weeks. They're taking out that culvert that crosses Highway CV there, right? Just a little north of Innovation Drive. They have to remove that. If you've noticed, there's a structure off to the side of the road currently. That's what's going in place there. So they have to redo
That's
that.
the Quonset hut people.
The Quonset hut thing, correct. That's what, that'll go in the road, and that's what's gonna pass the water that comes from, well, basically all that water that flows this way comes through the high school, channels and goes underneath Highway CV right there at that point. So that'll be closed again, 2 to 3 weeks. If you've had anybody reach out, Meadowview Pond, so just a little bit north of Trailside or Lexington, part Parkway there, there's a retaining ponds in the backyard. We're cleaning out the cattails and things like that. So that will all be done this week. And leaf pickup will start probably next week as leaves are starting to fall more and more. And that will go until we're done or the snow flies, whichever comes first.
And
Listen, bring the snow.
Jim,
Just a curiosity, you talked about metal, whatever pond. How are the storm pipes functioning? Are those all still good? Remember whatever 5 or 10 years ago, the 100 years storm pipes we put in? Assuming that's not part of the cleanup effort, that's just.
No, it's the pond is filled in with sediment and then cattails have grown, so it's really overgrown. And then the inlets from those storm, the outlets there are silted up. Like if you ever go look at it, you'll see there's riprap and then there'll be a 3-4 inch jump of sediment there, right? That is impeding, that's flowed out. So we're gonna clean all that out and it'll improve that function of that storm facility there.
Very good, thank you.
okay. Anything else, Chip? All right,
How long did you say CV was gonna be closed? For 2 to 3 weeks?
Probably 2 to 3 weeks, yep.
And then V is, when do you think that's gonna, what was the timeline on that one? Do we have one?
I don't have when the stuff east of Stevenson, probably be by the early November, should all be done. In theory, if all goes well, right? We got weather to contend with and other things. We've had some seasonally nice weather. The problem with V is it's a main thoroughfare and everybody's got junk in the road and we keep uncovering it. It's not being found through locates that we do. So they're doing it. We have to slowly trudge along, make sure we're not disconnecting things. So.
Okay.
oh, junk is wires and pipelines and, yeah, okay.
Yeah, MG&E is relocating gas lines, right? There's Alliant has facilities, Brightspeed, TDS, what's the other fiber company? There's a whole bunch of them that are it's in there that we just have to kind of move out of the way, so.
All right. Anything else? All right, if not, we'll move on to community development update. Alex. All right, administrative services update. Oh, you guys are good. Recreation and community enrichment.
Sorry, I have things to update on. So we had, we completed our Park and Connects, 2 Thursdays ago, last Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago, 2 Thursdays ago. And with that, so it was our first year, so we're hoping to probably bring that initiative back next year. This year, as part of those, we did the park concept surveys. So we got 152 responses, and we're going through them. And plan to bring it to the Public Service Committee this month. And then Trisha's working on the Dragon Arts applications for next year. Plan to have that open November 1st. I know they're also working on a sponsorship guide and starting to get conversations with businesses for 2026 sponsorships. Next week is going to be our last farmers market. So I feel like the season went by really fast. We are going to be doing a couple surveys out to the public just to get some feedback and to our vendors as well. With next week, the last one, it is, we'll have pumpkins for kids to be decorating. That will be free. And then it's typically our trick or treat farmers market. Next Saturday, we host the regional flag football tournament out at the DeForest Quick Trip Athletic Complex. So we have 49 teams that we're hosting on Saturday. The following weekend on the 25th and 26th, that will be the last tournament at the athletic complex for this year. And then we're working on finalizing all the tournament agreements for 2026. So I think we have almost all of those finalized and we're looking at a full docket again for next year. And then Sam is here and he will be joining us now and will take my place when I am on leave. So I'll probably make him start doing reports so that he can get used to it.
Welcome, Sam. All right. DeForest Windsor Fire and EMS update. Mr. LaFever.
Just a few things to keep everybody in the loop. The second station planning is moving along in the design phase. It looks like we're probably going to be in front of the boards February, March, end of February, beginning of March for going to bid and then approving bids. Everything is on track and working well. So far, we're on mostly lot layout, where the utilities are gonna run, room function and design. We're starting systems next week, so HVAC and whatever will be included in there. The cost of the building is still in that 8.2 million plus that about 386 a square foot. All in for the project, they're looking at that 11.2, but some of that's already been spent, and so there's some design, other items in that cost breakdown. That was provided by the construction manager that Windsor's been using. So I would say there's some flexibility in those numbers yet as we go through planning. Another item to note, we did win the SAFER grant 2 weeks ago, I believe. So we're looking at bringing on 4 new medic firefighter positions within 180 days is kind of where the payout is. So that brings us to the operational capacity of 2 medic rigs every day, during the day, 2 at night, full fire crews, all but 3 hours of the day. So that was a big win that ramps our timeline from 29 to next year. So, and the government's reimbursing 75%, 75%, 35%. So it definitely gives us the edge and the staffing, and we'll be ready to go. We are actually borderline during the day able to staff 3 rigs. So that's big for us.
Congratulations. That was a big win.
Big win.
All right.
Questions on the station timeline?
Any questions? Yes, Jim.
I was looking into that SAFER grant just to try to understand it before, and I think you just stated it, the 75, is that the percentage that they're paying of the salary per year? Is that?
It's all in, everything but overtime.
Okay.
So
for how many years, or?
It's paying 75 for years 1 and 2 and 35% in year 3.
Perfect. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Other questions for Chief? All right. Well, I thank you. Welcome to our updates.
I'm very excited to be here.
We're sure of that. No comment. All right. Any other business to lawfully come before the committee? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will adjourn and we will come back for our village board meeting at 6 p.m. So take a break. Thank you. Just to note that clock isn't right. So we're looking at computer clocks here. I would ask Callie to know roll call. I made the announcement at the last meeting to welcome Alicia to the board, but I'd like to do that again. We're glad to have her.
Our camera's not working, just so.
Okay, are we doing something about it or are we just going on?
We're just holding on.
Okay, all right. I would ask Jim to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. One announcement I do want to make tonight is we're going to start trying to use more of a round robin fashion for answering questions so we can keep things moving. And ask that we keep our comments focused and we'll each get at least 2 chances to ask questions. And then if there's more time, we can go further. But I just wanted to let people know that we're going to start doing that more rigidly tonight. With that, I would move on to the consent agenda. It's a fairly large consent agenda. I would ask if anybody needs anything separated out. Lane,
Jane, I just have an issue on the board minutes from 9/18.
from the 18th?
Yeah.
We'll separate it and then we'll come back to it. So anything else? All right, so on the rest of the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go back to the minutes from the 18th of September. Colleen, do you want to signify? Tell us what's your,
Number 7, presentation, 7.1. We never did the DeForest Yards Phase 2 concept presentation last time, did we?
no,
But it's in the minutes.
I'm sorry, that was a typo on my part, I can get that changed.
Poor Shane.
I know, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
okay, anything else? So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the change indicated. Is there anyone willing to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 9/18.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes with the change of removing the DeForest Yards presentation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so that moves us all the way down to public appearances. I'd like to welcome everyone who's here. We appreciate the community paying attention to what's going on here. So glad to see you all. We will begin. We have a couple of issues represented here tonight. And the first is Jim Skelton. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. You sit right there and turn on the mic. There you go. You got to kind of talk close to the mic to be heard well.
Okay. My name is Jim Skelton, and I live at 821 Woods Glen Court, right here in DeForest.
Thank you. So feel free to go on with your 3 minutes here.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me. The reason I'm here is my name is Jim Skelton. I'm the commander of the American Legion Post 348 here in DeForest. I come before the DeForest Village Board to ask for your consideration of our request to have a veterans-only parking sign installed in the parking lot outside Village Hall. Our post has had some preliminary conversations with Stacy Harmon about this request. She has identified a probable post in the parking lot where the sign could be placed. The American Legion will provide the funds for the sign. We do realize that there is no law or statute requiring this action, but it would further enhance your image as a veteran-friendly community. The American Legion has met with administrative staff of the Village of Windsor and Cornerstone Community Center for the same purpose and received approval to have signs installed at the new Village of Windsor City Hall and at the Senior Center in DeForest. The Village of DeForest and the American Legion have been community partners on many successful projects over the years. This minor change goes a long way in growing the good life for the community as a whole and for support of our veterans. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for your consideration and this request and your time.
Thank you, Jim. We will take it under advisement, but put it on our next agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, the next person is John Schmidneck. I think I finally got your name down, I hope.
Meetings. Actually, you did well the first time. Thank you. Hello, so my name is John Schmidnick. I own a home at 717 West Mohawk Trail. My wife and I have lived in DeForest for the last 20+ years. I am here tonight to share my thoughts on the open village board trustee position. The recent recall election has certainly sent a very clear message from the village residents regarding trustee conduct and their voting record. 31% of voter turnout, coupled with Alicia Williams' landslide margin of 78.6%, serves as a testament to the wishes of the residents. I believe there were 3 major takeaways from the election that the board will hopefully acknowledge and act upon. Number 1, Alicia was a great candidate. The residents responded to her civil and calming approach. The 78.6% says it all. Number 2, bad behavior from any trustee should not be tolerated. Once the open position is filled, a code of conduct or ethics that has some teeth is most certainly needed. The board needs to make this a priority. Number 3, any potential individual to fill this seat should be open to reassessing the fluoride removal decision. The board should not consider any potential candidate that is anti-fluoride. The recall results speak very clearly to the residents' displeasure with the decision to remove. The board decided not to take the fluoride topic to the residents for a vote. The recall election results validated the decision is not what residents wanted. I would recommend the board use an application process to fill the position. Please make sure that fluoride is part of the interview process and that any potential anti-fluoride candidate is not considered. With Alicia receiving 78.6% of the vote, the other 2 candidates generated just over 20% combined and were very vocal in their anti-fluoride position. A statement was made from one of the candidates that said there was no interest in revisiting the fluoride issue. The candidate stated it divided the village and it was time to move on. This candidate received 10.6% of the vote and is clearly out of touch with 90% of the electorate. So I hope the board, I trust that the board is listening and will act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, John. The next person up is Chris McDonald.
Good evening. My name is Chris McDonald. I live at 4000 Longfellow Court in the village of Windsor. I'm here tonight to offer public comment on the vacancy and the method in which the board chooses to fill that vacancy. So I've read through the packet information and seen that staff has proposed a process after a lot of thought to potentially do interviews, public interviews, and then some scoring, and then appoint somebody. I think that's probably the best route. And so I'm very supportive of the position and the memo that staff has put forward on the way that you're going to fill this vacancy. None of you asked to be in a position to fill a board seat, but here we are. You're going to have to do it. And I think it's very important that the board take a careful, cautious, and public approach to filling this vacancy that is informed by the public. I've heard that in town there are some people that would like to see somebody that ran in the recall election appointed to this seat, and I can tell you right now that the majority of town is not going to support that. So please don't consider that. I've heard comments that this individual got a strong showing of support in the election. I would look back at some of the elections we've had this year. Jan Steffenhagen Hahn ran in the spring. She got a strong showing of support as a trustee based on her careful consideration of issues that have come before this board and how she voted. The village president, Jane Cahill Wolfgram, got a strong showing of support when she ran for village president. Alicia Williams ran in the spring without her name on the ballot on a 6-week race. She got a strong showing of support, nearly 1,700 write-in votes with her name not on the ballot. And in the recall election, she got 80% nearly of the vote. I would not consider 10% of the vote for the recall election a strong showing of support, especially since it was less votes than the person that was removed from office. So I don't consider that a strong showing of support. If that person wants to serve the community, more power to them, let them apply and go through the process like anybody else. I've personally spoken to about 4 or 5 people that have interest in applying. So I've sat in this meeting room before and heard staff talk about how one of the biggest risks that this board has identified in town is lack of engagement from the community. The community is telling you tonight and in this most recent recall election and the recall process that we're paying attention, and we want to be part of that process. So I would ask that you, as you take up that item to consider how to fill this board vacancy, do it in a transparent manner where the public can observe interviews and make their voice heard on whoever's going to fill that seat. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Abby Lowry.
Thanks for letting me speak tonight. My name is Abby Lowry. I'm a Village of DeForest resident. My exact address is provided on my public appearance form if you need to see it. I want to share my approval of the staff recommendation and the memo attached to agenda item 9.1 pertaining to filling the trustee vacancy, but with 3 big caveats. 1, I think the person appointed should only serve until the spring 2026 election, which can serve as a special election to fill that vacancy for the remainder of the term until 2027. The office of village trustee is meant to be a voter determined position. Thus, at the earliest convenient time, which would be the spring 2026 election, voters should be able to weigh in on whether to keep that person to fill the remainder of the term or to choose someone else. 2, second big caveat. The memo mentions questions created by staff. Although I think staff can and should play a role in determining questions for the interview process, I hope current trustees have the opportunity to provide questions as well, or at least sign off or veto questions beforehand. And 3, this is my biggest caveat, the most important thing for me with this appointment process, if that's the way you decide to go, is the memo states that interview questions should be based on resources such as the strategic plan, comprehensive plan, core values and behaviors, etc. I would substantially emphasize the importance of questions related to core values and behaviors. Former trustees recently engaged, not any of you, but former trustees recently engaged in bullying behavior towards residents. I was involved in the effort to successfully recall one of them. My entire motivation was to send a message that bullying by elected officials is inappropriate and reprehensible. I want to make sure this never happens again. I think the majority of the questions should emphasize respectful communication and behavior of trustees towards village residents, village staff, and fellow trustees. A newly appointed trustee can easily learn all the other things like our strategic plan with a little extra work and time. Being a genuine, thoughtful, respectful person cannot be learned quite so easily or quickly. And since I have 30 seconds left, I want to add on and just say I agree with John, who suggested revising our current ethics code. I was involved in the last time it was revised, and a lot has changed since then. And I do think that a lot of major changes should be made to it. And feel free to reach out to me if you want to learn more about my thoughts on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Abby. All right, Beth Storch.
Beth Stork, Storch. I live at 616 Jefferson Street. While I'm not here to talk about the vacancy, I think what I am going to talk about actually does apply to it. I believe the board has goals to be more transparent and increase community involvement. I applaud this, and I believe that communication is at the heart of reaching these goals. But I have seen a paradigm shift in how organizations reach their audience. Prior to COVID, it was standard to expect that the people you wanted to be involved would come and seek you out, either in person like we're doing today, or by visiting your website, maybe Facebook. And that worked for some. Some might go to the website. Some might look at Facebook. And then there's people like me who do neither, at least not on a consistent basis. And then we do have the newspaper, which is great. But again, not everybody subscribes to that. I think now there's been a shift where people need and maybe even expect that you come to us. I would like to encourage the board to look at ways to have direct communication with your constituents. And options to do this include electronic newsletters and email blasts, which you do use. But to sign up for them, we have to come to you. And some of us just don't know that that option is available. On a personal note, I've taken classes through the Wanakees Park and Rec program, and I get emails when there are openings in classes that's going to be happening. And that's really useful, and I will sign up for them. I also think you can't forget the power of print. Postcards and short memos that go directly to the constituents still have a place in today's society. And simple posters, just putting up in the community. Again, it's that visual information where people are at. But to do this, you will need a communication expert who has the time and the resources, meaning money, to create these materials. I highly support increasing the communication budget that will be necessary to start on this path. And talking about the trustee vacancy might be the first challenge for you to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Mark Stork.
Hi, my name is Mark Stork. I also live at 616 Jefferson Street here in DeForest. As I'm sure you know, I was the individual who initiated the recall petition, and I can honestly tell you I've spoken to a lot of your constituents. I would first like to take this opportunity to congratulate our newest trustee, Alicia Williams, on her addition to our village board. With that said, I would also like to state to the entire board that the recall effort was not about electing Alicia. It was not merely to have the fluoride reintroduced to our drinking water. It was in fact to have a village board who listened to those people they represent, who act with professionalism and civility, both when acting as a trustee and as a common citizen, and to allow the people of DeForest to be able to respect those who represent them as elected officials. We have begun to move in that direction. We now, however, have the need to place another trustee in a vacant position on the board. We ask that this is not done in a manner that appears disdainful of the trust that we have put in you or without process. If the board wishes to continue the path I have outlined above, seeking out those who would wish to serve, interviewing them to allow them to show that they will meet the needs of our community and deport themselves in a way that reflects well on our village, and additionally doing this in a transparent manner, is critical. If this is not done, we will be simply reverting to the prior status of the village. Likewise, while we have a financial code of conduct for board members, I would advise you to consider a broader code of conduct to cover the issues I raised above. These need to have an ability to be enforced and to be codified and approved so that we do not find ourselves at a future date to have to take the same action that we did this past summer. Please take these thoughts into consideration when you discuss what options and opportunities you have to fill the vacancy in our village board and the board's future direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate everyone taking the time to come and be here tonight, and I appreciate all your comments. With that, we will move on to presentations, and we have tonight DeForest Yards. You know, Luke, I was looking around the room looking for you, and I think it's the first time I've seen you without a cap, and I didn't know you were here. So.
Told me 6:30, and you got a busy day.
Well, it's 6:23, so pretty close. All right, we're going to introduce this and we're going to have you come up to the table.
Okay. So this is Luke Stoffaker. He represents Cascade Development. They are the developer for DeForest Yards, just to the south of the site. Luke's been busy with that site, but also thinking about potentially what's in the future for DeForest, especially in and around this area. So Luke's gonna jump into what's proposed, and this concept plan will be related to item 8.1 in talking about the municipal parking lot in that area. And then at future meetings, there'll likely be a discussion on a development agreement potentially with Cascade on the development of this project. Go ahead, Luke.
Okay. And Luke, just because not everyone in the room knows what you've been developing in that spot, they're all curious. You might just talk about phase one.
Sure, yeah, Luke Stoffaker with Cascade Development. DeForest Yards, phase one, I would say we started working on about 2 years ago with village staff. It is just south of the Highway 19 location on the map. The master planned, when it's all done, it's 406 multifamily units, Youngblood Brewery, Aranda's Mexican restaurant, a 3,000 square foot retail space, which has since been leased out for office, a indoor ice arena, and an outdoor refrigerated ice arena that is a entertainment district, if you will. In the winter months, it'll be for hockey and ice skating and winter sports activities, and in the summer months can be opened up for a host of activities, volleyball, pickleball, live music events, festivals, and whatnot. Right now we have the 91 unit building was our first building, has been operating for 6 or 7 months. And we have another 81 unit that opened 2 months ago. And we'll be opening the second half, another 81 units next month, and a 9,000 square foot amenity space that will also be opening in the next couple weeks. Youngblood, which we stole the land, we don't own that, but that's under construction right now with, I think, expected completion next summer. And Aranda's is under construction with an expected opening in 2 to 3 months. And the indoor ice arena has temporary occupancy on the first floor, and we're hoping to get the full indoor outdoor open by early December, late November. And we have started construction on the next building, a 59 unit that will open early next summer. So that's kind of what we're doing right now over there. And because we think it's been successful. I think village staff is happy, and the residents that we've run into are happy with it. We successfully started to fill the buildings and had very positive feedback in the village and throughout Dane County. And shortly after we kind of took this on, we started working with kind of future plans for a phase 2. And I have a couple of user groups that would like indoor sports facility space. So as part of phase 2 and the overall development, we're calling DeForest Yards Entertainment District. We're looking to add to that entertainment district. We can get into the questions probably. I don't want to ramble on too much because there are a lot of intricacies of how we ended up where. But that leads to kind of what's in front of you here right now. And what's shown is a sports facility indoor on just north of Savannah, or just south of Savannah Drive, north of Savannah Drive, south of Highway 19, and parking to accommodate that. And then north of Peterson Crossing Boulevard is a layout for multifamily units and a mixed-use building with retail in it. And we are very early in the concept. So the original DeForest Yards, I think we went through like 30 site plans before we landed on what we ended up with. So this is very informational, kind of putting some boxes in places and understanding it. And then we did some, I just share with you a rendering of a project that I'm working on in Verona called Avalon Ridge. This rendering was one that Bill liked, but it's the design content would be, we'd be looking at a similar style on this site, similar elements and fitting in with the neighborhood and whatnot. So again, very informational. This is a current project that I'm working on, but we feel that the fit of this style would go well with the first phase of DeForest Yards. And with that, I figure probably the best way to attack this is answering your guys' questions.
Okay, Alex or Bill, did you want to?
And I actually should, Jane, I probably missed a step. Part of why I think Bill and staff wanted me to come here was to talk about what we're doing phase 1, potential for phase 2, and why that ties into the parking lot. The municipal parking lot that is new business, I think, 9.1, no, old business, 8.1. Back when we did the original one, you guys owned the land and we talked about the potential that a need for more parking if this was successful and kind of what came of it. I think kind of dovetailing to what I said earlier, the reception has been very positive. And when we first did this, it was, you know, we thought we had a bunch of ideas and a schedule of events and planning. Fast forward 24 months and we have like a lot of events and a lot of stuff coming. Some really exciting stuff that would come to the village that in due time will be more public knowledge as contracts get signed. But there should be some really positive activity coming to DeForest Yards on the first phase. And we do feel like there will be a lot of traffic coming our direction. supporting all those businesses. And I think I reached out to Bill, kind of say, hey, we're working on this, this, and this. We should probably talk about that parking agreement that was initiated with this whole process. And so I think with phase one and the potential for phase two, the conversation was that we're probably going to need to make sure we allocate for enough traffic with the different things we have going on there.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Bill.
So just kind of quick reaction here. The municipal parking lot, the traffic lights that were added on Highway 51, and Luke's community building and swimming pool and access for the neighborhood. Those were all comments that we heard back from the initial and follow-up neighborhood meeting when Luke first proposed the DeForest Yards project. And so, again, I mean, we understand that these developments are going to have impact to the neighborhood. One of the biggest comments that we received, numerous comments we received were in regards to parking in neighborhoods, in the residential neighborhoods, just across the street. And that's why the proposal for the village to acquire the parking lot through the tax increment district to assist businesses in the district was brought forth and approved at that time. So just a context for that.
Okay. Questions? Yes, Jim.
One question I have is, I haven't heard of that there's a commercial space that you're proposing. Is that something that you maybe have a lead on? Or is that something that you'd build as a spec building with hopes to fill it? You know,
A little bit of both. Yeah, there's a couple leads that have come my way. What happened, again, going back, Jim, you were here. Just not everyone was, but when we first went down this path, we were always sensitive to having too much retail and having those empty buildings that we see all around town, or not around town, around Dane County. So we ended up with the Youngblood and then 2 spaces, and we quickly were able to get a Rand on board, and it left 1 space. There has been a lot of interest in, I think, what we're doing. So we've gotten a lot of inquiries on what do we have left, which we don't have anything left on the retail side of things. So with doing the sports complex and then more units, we thought, and I think through Alex and Bill's kind of say, hey, we'd like to see some more of that retail. And I think Alex has gotten calls for spaces, and then I have too. So I think there's a couple leads, but we don't have any contracts in hand or anybody ready to go. But we think once we do this, it'll probably necessitate kind of, to fill that.
thank you very much. And I do agree. I think that lot could be rather special with the amenities that it has with the wetlands or storm ponds behind. So hopefully you get a good client.
Good, thank you. Who else has a question or a comment? Then I will say I'm excited about this, and I think that it offers a lot of draw for the community and a lot of opportunity. Also some more options for our Park and Rec program to coordinate with Luke, and he's been a wonderful partner. So that's good. Do we have a timeline?
Bill can speak to it, but I know this summer there needs to be some activity. So we're quickly approaching deadlines per usual.
So as part of the proposal, Cascade will be asking for tax increment incentive for the project, particularly to help finance the sports complex facility. Tax increment district number 7 does have an expenditure deadline of next June, I believe.
That's why I asked.
And so if this is something that the board desires to have in DeForest, we will need to turn around and start discussing development agreements once the properties are under contract.
Thank you.
And to make sure it's stated, DeForest Yards Phase 1, the residential units did not receive any TIF. nor would we expect or be asking for any in phase two. So everything, and I think more things were clear, probably even from when we came to the board and you guys, we worked with Bill and Al and Alex. But the rink and the entertainment pieces are nonprofit and all the TIF went to that. We would be looking at a similar setup to create another nonprofit with the sports center and work with the village, and all of any TIF potential funds would go towards that facility.
Thank you. Jan.
So first of all, let me say, Luke, people are very excited about that ice rink and they want to know when it's opening. They keep asking. What is the date on that again? Ish.
September 10th. So we've been open for like 3 or 4 weeks. We actually had, was it yesterday? Was there no school? Like, yes, yesterday, right? We actually had some village residents that were out of school, some kids that were skating on it. And I was just there working because like I said, we have the first like temp opportunity with the first floor open, but the outdoor stuff isn't. And I was like, it's here today. So there were some figure skaters and some young hockey girls skating. So I made a call. I was like, did we rent the ice today? And Andrew Judry, who's been working with the Parks Department, said, no, that was one of our, village days. Like, oh, awesome. Oh, so yeah, so I think we have another one come up in a couple weeks. So with the Parks Department, we did that use agreement. And so we've been filling that with some like the off days and opening up to the village, so we're open. We're not fully open to where it's like really fun. So it will be really fun in like December. So yeah, so it's partially open, but yeah, the parking lots have been filling up on the weekends and we've had some hockey being played.
Okay, good. So when phase one started, it ended up that there's a nonprofit involved. Do we know in phase two, is that going to be nonprofit?
Yep. Yeah. So phase two would be the similar structure, obviously with Bill and Al. We haven't gotten too deep in the weeds, but the intent would basically mimic what we did on the first phase.
Okay.
And then hopefully the conversation we've had is different uses now. Obviously the ice rink is a unique niche, sport, but then we have the outdoor entertainment piece, with this second phase having different uses, without getting into too much detail, which I'm happy, like my people that want to use it are happy to come here at some point in time. But I didn't want to get the cart before the horse. So some really exciting user groups that want to be the main tenants of the sports, and then having multiple different sports available. So I think that was my intent is to work with the parks again and fill some voids that aren't currently getting filled with facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. I want to say one other thing to you. I've been getting many favorable comments about the traffic lights on both 19 and 51. And I know you were a big supporter of those lights and as were others in the village, but thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy too. Bill was at the first meeting of this and I was getting yelled at for the traffic lights, but I was like, that's Bill. But I'm glad as, if you go back to 2016, when we did the park, 2016, and we were the first building there, and it was a tough in and out. And then we added all the Savannah Brooks neighborhood, all of our Forest Yard stuff. It is definitely running a lot smoother. So I think everybody's happy about that.
They are overall. Yep. Okay. Well, with that, we will thank you and we'll move along to our other items, but I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you.
Thanks.
And now I'll recognize you without a cap.
Yeah.
Thanks, Luke.
I'm a haircut for you, Jane.
All right. All right. Item 8.2, discussion and possible action regarding 8.1 we're on. I apologize. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-084, a resolution authorizing the village president and clerk to execute a First Amendment to municipal parking lot development agreement with Cascade Development LLC. And this is what we were just discussing with Luke. So, Bill, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I can present on this. So one of the critical details, or there are two critical details in the current municipal parking lot development agreement. One, the original intention was to pave the parking lot, only half of the parcel. So about an acre of the grid material that we have right outside of Village Hall. And the intended purpose of that was that we weren't 100% positive how often that parking lot would get used. And so one of the concerns was having per se an empty parking lot all the time. And so we wanted to go with a more sustainable type grid, and so that it could be utilized during special events, but then be green during non-event days. So that was the critical piece number one. The second piece was that construction of the parking lot needed to be done and completed by the end of this year. And so what the amendment does is, first and foremost, it changes the design of the parking lot itself with the higher use that we anticipate from DeForest Yards and from the additional proposed use. It is a full parking lot, over 2 acres of land now, paved with stormwater, trees, lights, etc. And then it extends, it gives Cascade an additional year to construct this, considering the substantial changes to the parking lot itself. Some other minor changes in regards to the amendment, updating contact information. I want to be clear here that in the original agreement, the obligation to the developer was to construct the parking lot. As part of that was a tax increment incentive from the village of about $400,000 to be paid or reimbursed to the developer. As you can imagine, the increase in scope of project to go to asphalt, the cost is substantial to increase it. We are locked in at $400,000. We're past the expenditure period. So Cascade will have to carry that additional cost. And in discussion, they're okay with that. I think that explains most of it. We talk about specs with the parking lot and design standards to the village standards. And then all the remaining requirements in the development agreement stay the same. Happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Bill? Jim?
One sort of procedural question. There's attached to say the concept of the parking lot. I'm just curious, is it the exhibit is a concept right now, and procedure going forward, is this going to come to say planning and zoning for review as a site plan? Or I think you know me as an engineer, I have a couple minor comments, so I can submit that now to somebody, or when it comes to planning and zoning, if that's the way it goes.
Yeah, so the intention was to initially have the development agreement approved. So that's kind of checklist number one. The site plan and concept will come to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I believe it's actually been submitted to staff for review, and so those comments will come to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions, Chan?
So the village is still gonna own this property. We're going to pay up to the $400,000 that we agreed to, originally what we were gonna do with our plans. And then Cascade Development is gonna pay anything over that for the upgrades that they want. So then going forward, the village still owns it. Are we gonna do any charging for special events? Or will?
Yeah, so that's something that we've discussed actually. So as a parking lot, municipal parking lot, so I think this is our first municipal parking lot in the village. And we don't have any other district that is quite this unique. So it does, as it remains in the village and under village property, it does become public infrastructure. So we do need a plan for maintenance and future construction costs or replacement costs, as we do with any other public infrastructure projects or streets out there. Again, we are exploring opportunities and ability to charge for special event parking in the area. We are cognizant that these projects in its infancy, we want to be cognizant of how much we charge, how often we charge, et cetera, to not deter from the eventual goal of kind of the district is to get people to come to DeForest and enjoy DeForest. So we'll consider that as we go. Otherwise, what we'll have to do here is continue to plan for it in our capital improvement plan. One thing to know, although Luke has said that, you know, eventually these will get turned over, these facilities are turned over to nonprofit organizations. We need to double check with our assessors to see if the property itself is tax-free or not. There's a standard that each of the nonprofits need to meet before they become tax exempt. And then in addition to that, you know, by the time that the parking lot will need to be replaced, we have to imagine that this area will be fully developed. So we will be recognizing the tax benefits from the area because those tax increment districts will no longer exist.
Okay, those are good answers, Bill.
I've had time to practice. Thank you.
All right, I think that's important. Anybody else have a comment or question? We'll continue then. It's important to remember that tonight we're acting on the parking lot. So we have a lot more time to work with Luke on the rest of it. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-084.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jim? Yeah. All right. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion,
One comment is that you said we're acting on the parking lot. We're actually acting on the agreement. So
yeah,
there-
you're right. Thank you. The parking lot agreement. Okay. With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move to item 8.2 now. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-086, a resolution authorizing a limited encroachment of a retaining wall into a landscape buffer area on lot 13 Diamond Village. Who's got this one? Randy. Randy Cooper, thank you.
That is me. So this, as the staff report that was presented in your packet had stated, this is more of just a step that's required because I can't issue waivers on specific things that are led by our ordinance. There's a property out in the subdivision called Diamond Village, which is off of Peterson Crossing. It is east of Highway 19. Some of the properties that are in this subdivision abut Peterson Crossing. And as part of the plat approval that was put in place, there was a landscape buffer requirement put on the plat. And that was the intention of putting a landscaped berm in there to help with the noise and traffic and things going by on Peterson Crossing with these properties that were actually abutting right up to it. One of the restrictions on the that we have in our ordinances is that we can't do any plantings in this landscape strip, specifically, or I'm not saying, I shouldn't say that. Let me back up. Can't do any permanent structures within the landscape strip unless the village board gives permission to do so. So we have a property owner that has requested to have a retaining wall put in because over time with this landscape berm, grading and landscaping from neighboring properties, as properties that have been built out there, a lot of the water is being directed right to the rear of their home. And they have worked with a landscape contractor and come up with the solution that a retaining wall is the best option to help direct the water in the correct way that it's supposed to flow based on the grading plans that were approved for this subdivision. So the request is for the village to allow them to install a landscaped retaining wall within this buffer. That's the request this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
Any
I know
questions?
it's all very technical kind of stuff.
Elaine?
Randy, just want to make sure that what is happening on this lot is not going to affect other lots in terms of water being redirected. So now they go in somebody else's basement.
That is correct. We've worked with the property owner and the property owner has communicated very clearly to the landscape contractor that the water cannot flow or cause any issues with neighboring properties. That is part of our ordinance requirements, that it can't do anything like that. But also what this property owner is doing is actually bringing the grading back to the way that the final grading should have been completed by the landscape company of the builder. So they are actually, by putting the retaining wall in, directing the water to flow the way that it was intended to flow on that parcel and not affect the neighboring parcels.
Okay,
Gotcha. Thanks.
it looks like Al has a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the resolution requires the approval of the village engineer in terms of the location and the specific design of the wall, and he's well aware of the topography out there and the drainage issues, so that'll all be addressed.
Okay.
I was gonna say that next, that it was in the packet that Becker Engineering had taken a look at it and gave their blessing.
That is correct. They have taken a look at it, evaluated it all, have seen the issue at hand, and their recommendation was included in the packet for you.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to approve 2025-08.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion, Jim?
So the picture that was up, it showed what to me it would look to be highlighted drainage arrows. So
correct.
Speak a little bit, say to Colleen's comment, those are drainage arrows that would have been restrictions on the plat. And I'm guessing with Becker's review, that's also something that they're restricted to follow because of the plat being recorded. The comment that I do want to discuss maybe a little bit more is I'm curious of the height of the landscape. I guess I keep calling the landscaping wall because, yeah, but why I make a bit of distinction because at least in my profession, a retaining wall needs to go over 4 foot before it comes structural. So I wonder if we actually at some point want to look at what is the definition of a structure, and if it's in fact less than 4 foot, should we even necessarily call it a structure moving forward?
I think that's attorney.
Yeah, the definition we use for structure is anything that's man-made. So if you want to put a sign up, that's a structure, if it's permanent.
All right. Anything else? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. And thank you for being patient with us. She got put off, and so we're glad to have her here tonight. 9.1, discussion and possible action regarding the process of filling vacancies in the office of village trustee. There was a memo in your packet. I have worked with Bill on this, so I had a fair amount of input. We bring it here tonight for your review and comment. Our goal, from my perspective, is to have something that is open to the community and fair and gives us all input into the selection process. So here we will ask Bill to run through it with us, and then we will discuss it.
Yeah, so the process resembles a similar process that we took in 2022 when there was a vacancy at that point. There are changes in regards to kind of the grading process, who's asking the questions, etc. So just let me back up here, per statute. It provides opportunity for the village board to fill the vacancy, either for a select term or for the residue of the unexpired term. In this case would be through April of 2027. Other options besides appointing would be to go to a special election. And that could be designated at any time, subject to, again, the village board's approval. I think the intention here is to come to an agreement on what the process is, because it's essentially whoever does kind of rise to the top as part of this process will need to be then appointed by a majority of the village board. In event of say a tie or a no decision or indecision, the seat then remains vacant. So as we propose, and again, this is a proposal subject to your discussion and approval, we are proposing that there be an application process, if approved. After tonight, we would then open that application process. We do have an application that is currently under review. Once those applications are submitted to staff, Callie will do her due diligence in ensuring that the applicant is validated to be appointed as a trustee. Then we are proposing that the application process close on October 24th. That would then give us a staff time to put together a memo and be able to prepare the village board for the interview process. The interview process that is being proposed is a forum style, so similar to what we've done before, is have the candidates come and be able to answer the questions that will be provided at that time, subject to, again, your approval. I don't think there's anything that says that it's has to be a specific type of questions. We've kind of gathered some, I think, critical documents for us to reference, because anytime you grade questions or grade candidates, you have to have a point of reference to grade off of. And so we are hoping that you would, as a board, agree on a special meeting to consider the interview and the interview process. We had thought about potentially hosting that or holding that at the first meeting in November, but I think considering the interest in the position, and if you consider about 2 minutes, a minute and a half, 2 minutes per question per candidate, we're looking at about an hour and a half, 2 hours, if not more. So I would recommend that last week of October, you pick a date for that special meeting. Obviously, any of these dates can be extended by the board if you so decided. And then as similar as last time, at that meeting, after the questions were answered, each of the candidates were kind of ranked in preference. In the process that's being proposed, there is a grading for each of the questions. And then the village staff would have an opportunity to assemble the scores and then present to you the top score. And at that point, you as the village board would vote then to confirm that appointment. Now there are some procedural steps. The appointed person needs to be sworn in before they can take office. I believe last time we did it right on the spot. That's right.
No, the last time it was a day or two after he was appointed.
So we would have to then decide, what that process looks like. If it's a special meeting, we do have that time and opportunity before that person serves on the board on November 4th. So again, you pick the process as a board, you pick the timeline, and hopefully we can get to some kind of conclusion here. I'll take questions.
Thank you, Bill. So I think the way to handle comments and questions is to give each one of us an opportunity, and I start with Colleen.
Just out of curiosity, when you say staff will do the questions and staff will whatever, who's staff?
Primarily me.
Why don't you say me? Okay, thank you.
Jim?
I guess I got a lot of things, a lot of them are say ideas that I just gathered tonight from those people that spoke. So I thank you for those comments. One thing I appreciate, say, Bill, you being the main person coming up with questions, but I also heard how at least some people in the audience wanted to have opportunity for the village board to present questions. And I guess my take on that is maybe we present our questions to Bill to have him review it just to know what's in our mind and interpret what we present to Bill, and Bill make the final determination of what the questions might be appropriate.
Remember, we're doing just two of us, or two questions per person, and then we're moving on. So
Okay. As far as I'm curious how the timeline works with the budget process, because it seems like it's falling right in line there, and I think that's gonna be difficult coming on as a new board member, especially if it's the meeting that we may be actually approving a budget. I am curious, say, Bill, yourself or Alan, how to address if we appoint somebody and then instead in April, they become a special election to appoint for the remainder of the term. Is that something that is actually possible? So I guess I'll leave it at that as for this point.
Yeah, there are several options. One is to leave the position vacant, in other words, do nothing. Secondly, you can make an appointment, and that appointment can be for the remainder of the term, or it could be until a special election is held. So you can dictate the term of the appointment that you're making and have a special election at any time after that. Logically, you'd want to do it at the spring election, otherwise Callie will throw things at you. But you got the option. You could either say, for the next 4 months you're on the board, then you got to run again, or you could just make it for the residue of the term.
thank you. Tishika?
Just wanted to answer quickly the budget process. So it's our intention, if you look at the budgeting calendar, is to hold the public hearing. We'll talk about budget this evening, and then we have another budget session at our next meeting. At which time we're gonna ask for the board to approve us to move to a public hearing on the last meeting in November. So I believe that's November 21st, thereabouts. So yeah, 18th. So the appointment would be in line with that. And that's intentional, because as you can see now, we have a 6-member board. And so there is a possibility of a split vote on the budget. And that split vote would be a denial of the budget. So those are all kind of things for consideration as part of this process. I understand that whoever would be appointed, would not have the luxury of all that you've had in the budget, but as staff, we would work with them to get caught up as much as possible. And at least getting down kind of what the policies that you've set in direction that you've set for the boards or for the village's budget coming.
Thank you, Bill. Deshidra?
One, because I'm gonna count them out, Jane. One, I agree with you, Bill. We have great staff and Bill, you do a great job of helping us to get the information to make sure that we are knowledgeable on the things that come before us. So I have no doubt if someone was elected into it or put into this position that they would have the resources needed. Now, once again, you can only take someone to water and then they choose to drink it, but you provide ample amount for that so that they're not thirsty or parched. In looking at the document, I really don't have any questions. My only statement is the community has done an incredible job of having their voices be heard. And I think that in order to honor that would be to have this position filled, right? So that we have balance and so that we're able to make decisions and move forward. But with all of our seats, they are elected seats. And I would feel uncomfortable if we filled a seat and didn't give the community an opportunity to say, yes, this is who we really want. And so I think the prudent thing to do would be to work to fill the seats so that we can have balance and continuity. But then a special election during spring, we wouldn't increase costs to the constituents. It wouldn't increase extra work because the ballots are already going to be printed and we can just add another name should that name be there to give the community an opportunity to speak and be heard again. I think one of the things that I really, really hope that we can do is through this, increase our civility, increase our collaboration and our communication, and then start the healing process. And I think if we are able to do that by allowing the community to be active in the things that are going forward, I think that that would be a great step forward.
Thank you. One of the things I will say, just being frank, is a number of the people who have expressed interest might be deterred with having to then run for election right away. So I think we should consider that. Our precedent when Tashida resigned was to appoint someone for the remainder of her term. And that worked really well with Brian Taylor. And I have concern that we run into a continuity problem if all of a sudden we have a volatile election again. And so I would just caution us that that could be a problem and something for us to consider. And I do rely on the community to help with all of that. So I think we can get there, but I want folks to think about those things. Jan.
I'm open either way. If we have the person be reelected in 2026 or 2027, I mean, I can see the argument both ways. So I don't really have an opinion there. But one thing when I was looking at this, first of all, I did go back and look at the records from November of 2022. And that process seemed to work really well. And it was a little less cumbersome than what we're doing here. I guess what I'm looking at is I don't really like the part about the board giving a point for every single question. That's the big difference that I see between doing it this time as opposed to what happened in November. I personally would prefer just to, at the end, give the score for the candidate. Because I think it's going to be very time consuming. It's going to be, it's going to be a big process because I know when Bill and I were talking today, he said he's already got 7 to 8 questions. And if we get like 5, 6 candidates, or wait, and I think you said, wasn't there an interest of about 6, 7 people? Not they all might show up, but that would be a lot of point systems. And anyways, so I would opt for just giving the final number at the end for the candidate.
Okay. Alicia?
Couple things. It sounds like my first question was already asked, but I'd be curious either way, depending on which route we go, if it would be possible to have a short public forum for Q&A. So residents, if we do the appointment and application process, residents can get involved in the process. So that would be an ask if we go. I'm not sure what you're referring to in November with the, I guess you're saying there was a lack of rating, but I would ask that if we do a rating system, would those ratings be made public so that there can be transparency to the public as well on how we're rating individuals? And those, I guess that's two, so.
The score was given right in the meeting.
Okay.
And everybody saw how it was voted, and it's out there as public record still to this day.
I'm sorry, it's required that they would be public, so.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I didn't read it in there, so that's why I was asking. Thank you.
Randy, there's someone out. He's what? Oh, is that your son? Okay. I just keep an eye on it because we need to know these things. All right. All right. So with that, let's talk about where we're in agreement. I think what I'm hearing is people are good with the most of the process. They're looking for a few tweaks, and the question then maybe comes down to, do we then put it up for election in the spring or go through 2027? So let's just, the process itself. I would just kind of like to get a sense for how many people could support the process and recommend. Are you raising your hand? Okay, in support or?
I support the process. I like Jim's suggestion that maybe trustees could submit some questions. And I also like Jan's suggestion that we go with a final score.
Okay.
Versus one for every question answered.
Okay. All right. Jim?
I like the idea of a final score. It'd be easier to score and say, get back to the meeting at hand. I do have one other suggestion that I'd like to make for.
All right, why don't you go?
So the comment that I don't have it up on screen, but there was something as will be deemed nominated based on the rubric. And I just look back at what we did in 2022 is it shall be recommended. And I personally like the recommendation because to me, it needs to be actually a motion from the board, not necessarily set from a rubric.
I think we're talking semantics here. You don't really make recommendations to yourself. So, you know, you'd have the highest ranked person be the nominee that then gets a motion to appoint that person and a vote by the board.
An option for a motion.
Well, presumably somebody would make a motion since you rank them the highest person, or.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right.
I am agreeable to the final process or the process as it's proposed. I do like the comment of the final scoring. It'll allow for us to really pay attention to each question rather than trying to figure out what number we're going to give to someone. Because I think whoever applies, and if they're in front of us asking questions, it is our responsibility to give them undivided attention. And I know when scoring students and all the different things, you can't do that if you're not actively listening.
Okay. So I'm hearing so far, and we'll go through the rest of you, but we're saying one common score. The process generally is okay, but also submit some additional questions to Bill. Am I getting this? Okay. Are you getting this, Kelly? Good work. Jan?
I don't have anything further to say.
Okay, thank you. Alicia?
I think I'm agreeable to the process. I think I might need a little more clarification on what we're talking about for a final score because I think the whole point of the multi-scoring from what I read was so that there's not bias. But again, I think I just might need more clarification on what we're talking about. Because then if we're doing a score by question, my question would be, doesn't that give us more of an opportunity to weight people's backgrounds and questions and various, so that's where I'm at.
So your,
Let me clarify. So are we just saying we're giving one inclusive score of all the questions?
I think that's what people are saying, yes.
So, yeah, so that's what the process was last time. What had happened is the number of candidates and then each of the, after the full interview, each of the board members ranked their preferred candidates, 1 through, I think, 5 at the time. The candidate, I think, with the highest score, so 5 being the highest, was the one that was recommended.
Okay.
And just to clarify, there's nothing that stops any of you from using that individual question ranking in selecting your favorite candidate, so you can always do that on your own.
All right. So anything else? We're gonna submit some additional questions, but we can approve the process knowing we're gonna do that. Final score will be given a general score, although we can individually rate as we go if you're comfortable doing that. We are gonna be fair and impartial, so we're gonna have to really make sure we are. And so other than that, are we saying then this person is going to go through 2027 as we've done before? Or put them up for election in the spring? Colleen?
Well, from personal experience, it takes about the first year before you really feel comfortable and figure out what you're supposed to be doing here. I think you're absolutely right. We could get some really good candidates, but they're gonna say, well, forget it. I'm not going through all of this for what, November to April? Since we have done this in the past, I think I would be in favor of appointment until the term is up in 27.
Okay. Jim?
My opinion would be to have the person appointed till April, where the voters would be able to help choose the more permanent appointee for a year. Again, I still have a question of how that would work. Say with an election, is that 2 different boxes then? One for, say, the 2 years and one for the 1?
That's correct. So it's 2 different races. One for the office of that ends in 2027. That's the special election, and then the regular race, which is the 3 candidates or the 3 seats that would be up. So, Kaylee, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are correct. So anybody that would choose to run would have to signify which race they are running in, the 1-year term or the 2-year term.
Can they run in both? They would have to just do the signatures for both and things too.
Al, can they run in both? I don't know either. I know you could run for trustee and president. I don't know that you could run for trustee or trustee.
Okay.
This is putting a lot of confusion out there.
Yep.
Tashidra?
Well, the wonderful thing about confusion is with a little bit of education, you can always get the correct answer. And I think we owe that to our community to be able to do that. And I personally support of the appointment until the spring election. And we keep talking about, well, in the past, this happened and that happened. Yes. And I was the trustee who resigned last time, and that was because there was a death and I needed to. But I think that sometimes the past is good to give us direction on what we can and can't do, but there's always opportunity for change and growth. And I think that back then, it was a different time. There was a different feel and there was a different, let's just say, energy in the community. And we need to honor that energy. And I want to honor that energy. And the one thing that I love about voting and people's voices and people being heard is we're all here because the community wanted us here. And we can all be removed if the community wants us to be removed. And that is the beauty of being in a community that honors that. And so I personally feel the community has done their due diligence of saying, hey, we were sleeping before, but we're awake now. We want to be active. We want to be involved. And that type of appreciation and attention may wake up even more people in the community. We might even have even greater voter turnout. And then DeForest is a really fast growing community, and we'll send the message to people moving in that your voices matter no matter who you are or what your economic status is or where you live or what you do. You have a place here and your voice matters. And I think if we decide that someone can sit here for 2 years because that's the way it worked in the past, what message are we sending to our constituents who really put forth the effort? And so I want to give the community an opportunity to say, hey, this is what we want. And if we have a robust number of candidates that want to sit in, but they don't want to do the work for the next year, then we need to look at that too, because if you want to serve, you want to serve. And I think that that's where I stand. So I would support to the spring, and that's all I have to say.
All right. Jan?
I still have no comment.
Okay, that's fine. Alicia?
I think just from knocking on a lot of doors and talking to a lot of people in DeForest, overwhelmingly, to echo what Deidre said, is that they want to have a voice in what happens in their community. And so I would be in favor of the application process and making that go to the spring so that ultimately whoever does want to take this seat is really for the long term is one that is chosen by the people who live here.
Okay, so it sounds like, and you know where I am, I think we have the opportunity to get better candidates if we don't put them through these gyrations. So I really feel like, as we've done in the past, we were successful with appointing someone for the rest of the term with the input from the community on the candidates, and not putting them through that while they're still trying to figure out who's on first on the board. I think you'll all find that took us all a long time. And it's a continual learning process. So, but with that, I think that we have, how many? We are looking at 2026 is 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. All right. All right. So I'm not sure how we resolve this other than to,
Well, somebody can make a motion on this particular item.
I would make a motion to, which I can do, folks, in order to approve the process and the appointment with the changes regarding common scoring and the board members submitting additional questions. I would approve the appointment through 2027, giving this candidate a chance to really become a full board member.
I mean, just to clarify your motion, you don't mean through 2027, you mean through the remainder of the.
Right, that's what I meant. Yeah, thank you. All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion, but I think there's more to the procedure we need to talk about before we vote on the whole thing. And I'm not sure if we're talking about the whole thing or just this individual piece of it.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. So let's deal with that. And unless we pull it back, I would ask, what are the other pieces? I mean, I was suggesting the changes we recommended plus appointment for the full term.
So I also think there was a question on forum during the questioning. And then it wasn't mentioned here, but as part of the presentation, if we could decide if there's a special meeting and what time that special meeting is gonna be.
I see those more process oriented. I wasn't thinking of as being part of this discussion, so.
Couple of the procedural ones are that you mentioned is like picking a special meeting date. We have a planning and zoning meeting on that week, so I don't know if we want to pick something or move the planning thing.
So just quickly, so since we have a motion, I think someone who wants to make the second.
I did.
And then if there is a friendly amendment, you can go through that process to add the additional item.
We do have a motion and a second.
And I guess I'd like continued discussion if that's so.
I'm okay with that.
So I think you're right, Bill, that we need to set a special meeting date. The other comments I wanted to bring up is looking back at the way we did it in 22. We had a comment that if we got quite a bit of applicants, in the end, we didn't. But if we had over 5 applicants, that we were gonna vote it down. I shouldn't say down, say if we get 10 applicants, that'd be awesome. But do we want to interview 10 applicants? So we had a process in there where if we get 10 applicants, that we only have 5 come to the interview process. So I don't know if we want to worry about that at this point or just let it play out. And I just wanted to comment too, I don't know if it's necessarily in the presentation, but I do like that the first meeting for the new trustee would be November 4th with the public hearing on the budget then being on the 18th. I think that does set them up for, I say, a win or a good start. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up procedural wise, as far as what would the application be, is it just a straight up application? Because personally, when I look back at the old ones, we got some really nice letters of why people were applying. I would hope if an applicant is very much interested in being a trustee, that they do a cover letter too. So maybe I'm more or less announcing that to the public. Or if we want to actually have questions as part of the application.
Currently, Al is looking at the application form. Did you send that to him?
Yeah, last week.
Been a little busy.
Yeah, well, as we go through kind of our due diligence in updating information we submitted as part of the application document. If this board desires to have a cover letter, we can do that. It's not too late to do so. Yeah, as long as we get clear directions, again, we can ask staff implement it according to your direction.
Okay, I mean, asking for a cover letter or a rationale can be also added to the application process, so, or the application itself, so I'm not as worried about that as some of the other details.
I just wanted to make a comment on Jim's suggestion that you consider whether you're gonna interview 10 people or 20 people or whatever the number is. If you're gonna narrow that number down, you're gonna have to have a meeting in order to narrow that number down and then invite people back for the interviews. So just factor in that extra meeting time if you do go that route.
All right. I appreciate that, Al. I frankly don't want to narrow it down. I think we should all be exposed and we should be able to ask questions and we might be surprised. So, I mean, I know it takes time, but you know, if we have to have a late meeting, we'll have a late meeting. It's an important issue. So, okay. Are we good with that? And I will tell you the days that work for me that week are the 27th and the 30th.
It works here.
How about you? Your works. The 30th. We have one with
30th.
only the 27th, the other with only the 30th. So, let's figure out a solution here. Are we able to, I always hate doing this in a public group setting when we know how difficult schedules are, but you want to do that, so.
Historically, you sent out like a little survey of select all the dates and times that work. Are we, yeah, are we able to just do that so that we're not using meeting time to hash out schedules?
Yes, we can, if you can promise me that we're gonna come up with a date that everybody's gonna agree with. So yeah, and then here lies the issue, right? So, you know, so if we are not able to decide on a date for interview, question is, you know, is there a trustee that can join virtually? And if not, you know, if we're okay kicking it out a week, 2 weeks, etc., that then does put us in line to potentially appoint someone during the night of the same night that we're looking at the budget, which may or may not matter. I think, you know, if we look at this from a holistic point of view, I think that the intention is to try to get someone in the seat. I would say, you know, I think we want to try to get someone as soon as possible, as you are appointing to sounds like 2026. Once you're in December, that appointment is only for literally, I mean, you're running nomination papers in December already. So here, you know, again, these are things to consider.
All right, can we go forward without worrying about the date and we will
So
negotiate that?
here's something that we can do as an alternative is if everyone can be here on the 4th, November 4th, which is it's a village board meeting.
What the third?
Is that the 3rd?
No, the 4th is the Tuesday.
I can be here Tuesday, that Tuesday, but only time after that. I guess that is 4th.
So November 4th is our next regularly scheduled village board meeting. What we can do is utilize the work session to start the interview process and just continue that through until we're done, and then transition into the village board meeting and then make your motions in the village board meeting. Understanding that we will have to work to limit the items on the village board agenda, so that we can all get out of here at a respectable time.
That disturbs me a little bit because that's difficult to do during conducting the regular business of the village. Yes, Jim?
I guess I would offer that's a good solution because we all have that time designated, and I think it's important that we all be here for this selection process, and maybe we can look at having a special village board meeting if there's enough agenda items, say to have a meeting the next week or whatever.
You're gone soon.
I'm here for that stuff. Yeah.
When do you leave?
Next Thursday.
I'm sorry.
And you missed, I mean, part of the reason we're looking at a special meeting is because you're gone on that next board meeting. This next, in October.
Yeah. But that's part of the application acceptance period.
Okay. All right, let's not argue about the dates anymore. Now the question has moved to, do we do it during a regular board meeting or do we have a special meeting? I'm still advocating a special meeting because I think it'll be very difficult to do during a regular meeting.
The other option would be to cut the application period short. And you could then consider the week of the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd as a special meeting.
That's the week that I'm gone.
Question, so I think between Decidra and ours, is that what is causing the confusion? Because, you know, if it's just staying with the Thursday, the 30th, I think I have ample time to make that work. I thought we were just asking for preferences. So.
Okay.
But I don't know, we didn't get to Jim your schedule, so.
So I think the 30th works for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's just thank you, Alicia, for accommodating this. I never want to do dates at a board meeting because this group makes, it's difficult to come up with dates. And I appreciate that and your cooperativeness on that. So then we're back to doing the process with 2 changes and recommending that it be through 2026. I'm still not there, but that's what's up. And that we have a special meeting on the 30th of October.
That's correct. I think there's one more question, I believe, is as part of the forum, is that limited to questions from the board, or if there's going to be a public component to it? And then you'll have those questions from the board to be submitted, deadline for that view. I'll send that one out.
I just want to correct something. You said 2026, but your original motion was to 27.
Right, and I'm just talking about what positions people are recommending. I know what the motion was.
So do we have a motion in a second? Don't we have to address that?
We'll have to rescind or act on it. Right? All right, so I just want to make sure, were those the qualifiers people were throwing out here during our discussion? Okay, no objection. We will, now we have a motion on the floor and in a second. So I would rescind the motion and or amend it, either one. You go ahead. Were you as the second?
That was the second.
Are you willing to pull the motion back and
Yeah.
redo it? Okay, so it's off the table and we're going to have a new motion that will approve the process with the addition of questions being developed with the input of staff. And we have the date going through the spring election or to the spring election. And we also now have the special meeting on the 30th. And we have a question regarding community questioning process at the forum. And I would ask, are people open to having public comment and questions?
I will say yes. Yeah, I'm open to it.
Jan?
The question is, are we open to having public forum? That's fine, yeah, that's a yes.
All right. Tashidra?
Yes.
Jim?
I'm open to public comment. I sort of am a bit curious, what is this public forum? Because I don't see it hugely beneficial having the public ask questions of the candidates. I'm assuming it's just more of their opinion of the candidates, or if they want to say have questions to the candidates, I'd suspect, or I would recommend that they send those same questions to Bill for his introspective when he's creating the questions. I don't want it to be a back and forth between the public and the candidates. I think that could become controversial.
Okay. Right now we're back to our round robin.
I mean, I think without the process of election and allowing those candidates to go out and talk directly to the public, I think we have to have an opportunity for the public to have comment. Or it was done during the presidential forum, and so I mean, controversy aside, I still think that there has to be input from the community.
Okay. Jan?
I think that there can be input from the community. I think that's a good thing. However, I do have concerns that it could become controversial. And there's nothing that really holds the public to staying, what do I want to say? Civil. And I guess that would be my concern.
All right. Well, Bill, you want to?
Yeah, I want to try to wrap this in my head here. We're talking about a few month appointment to spring of 2026. There's questions in a forum setting from trustees. There's questions from the general public being submitted and asked. If we have 6 candidates, this could be an all-night affair. So I just want you to recognize that. And if not, then, you know, if there's a limiting of questions, how do we go about limiting questions without quieting the voice? So those are all the kind of decisions that, tough decisions, I get it. But I'm thinking about, you know, opportunity, thinking about, again, efficiency, effectiveness to an appointment that is a couple months.
I hear that. And I understand the hesitation when Jan spoke and others. We're looking for peace, and we're looking to represent the community. So what I might suggest is that we make an opportunity for the community to submit questions in writing, that Bill and the process can incorporate. That will also allow us to deal with duplicate questions, and you know, they may be the same questions we're asking, so that we can then they have an opportunity, and yet we're managing the process.
You stated it much better than I did, Jane. Yeah, that.
Rashidra?
I have nothing else to say. You said it. I just hope we can just vote and move forward.
Jim?
I like that process that you have. The only other thought that I have is if we want to have a public appearances at the meeting where they would be able, the public would be able to state their opinions and not necessarily ask questions, but I'm also good with what you just stated as far as just submitting questions and having it work through Bill or whoever's staff.
Okay. Elaine?
Oh, my head is spinning. This is a very short period of time that this person is going to be on this board. They're not even gonna have time to put it all together. Public will, of course, be present for the questions, the voting. So it's not like we're doing anything behind closed doors. It's all gonna be available to the public. Submitted questions, yes, I think if we do questions in person, we're gonna be here till midnight. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it's okay to just, to have you guys submit questions in writing, to have the public submit questions in writing. And we can look at incorporating those into our overall questions. This is painful tonight, guys. So, do we have any other outstanding issues here?
Rating system.
Yeah, we've got, yep, you won on that one. All right, so here we go. I will remake a motion that says that we will approve the process with the addition of a final score per candidate, one score per candidate, that the board members will submit additional questions or review the questions and comment, and those will go to Bill. They're not going to be publicly debated. And that was editorial on my part, I'm sorry. And the public will in fact be able to submit questions to staff as well for consideration in our Q&A process. That this candidate will be appointed until 2026 and then will run in the spring election for the term through 2027.
Just one suggested clarification. The normal term runs until the third Tuesday in April. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about or just up to the date of the election.
So that is what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. So you've got that clarification? All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now you're gonna move Jim along.
Second, well, second, third, whatever. But I want to make sure that that also includes the 10:30 as the special meeting.
Thank you. It does. We've agreed to October 30th as the date. Thank you. But maybe we put 10:30 on it too. So we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, guys, now get your questions together. All right, with that,
I'd like to make a motion for a small break.
think we have several seconds. I will agree to a break. Because this 75-year-old woman needs and get going. And we're going to move on with item 9.2, presentation regarding 2026 general fund budget and other funds supported by tax levy. Mr. Chang and Carol, who's up?
I think Carol's gonna lead this one. Go for it, Carol.
All right, 2026 budget. The entire budget gets to be a lot of information and of course, a lot of numbers. So what we've been doing in the last few years is sort of presenting it in two phases, which is what we will be doing here tonight. As she just read the title, we are looking at the general fund and just a couple of special funds that are partially supported by tax levy. So essentially what you have in your packet is all the information you need to understand what we are requesting of the taxpayers for 2026. It is important that you look through this and really think about any questions you have or potential changes you might want to suggest, because by the time we put all of this together and really look at the full budget in 2 weeks, our hope is at that meeting, you will feel like the budget we are proposing is solid enough that you will approve going forward with the public hearing notice. So to wait until our next meeting to then talk about any questions you might have will make it challenging to keep our deadlines. So I ask that you consider looking through this and reaching out if you have any questions or have anything you want to talk about within the next 2 weeks, so that by the time we come back and look at the full budget in 2 weeks, we have, like I said, a solid presentation, solid proposal in front of you. So what I will, go ahead.
I was going to add, a couple of us had, I have one tomorrow. There's been a budget meeting this week on this portion of the budget. So please look to reaching out to Carol and Bill if you have questions or if you want to know more about the budget for a meeting, trustees.
So I will not go through every line item in your memo. I tried to list things out in as much detail as I could, but let me just point out a couple of key points. So our total assessed value for the village as a whole went up 7.72%. The majority of that is due to new construction because we did not do a revaluation on January 1st of 2025. So for the most part, your existing homes stayed the same. So that helped a little bit when it comes time to looking at that percentage that we tend to look at of what's the impact to an average homeowner. It kind of helps because their assessments for the most part stayed pretty solid, pretty much the same. Our budget growth limit this year is set at 4.7%. That's the expenditure restraint incentive limit that we've been given. So for 2026, that allows us to actually increase our tax levy by $489,000. The payment we will get is estimated at around $113,000. So if we stay within that limit, we will get that $113,000 in incentive payment. So then I went through and just listed some changes that are happening with revenues and expenditures. Again, some of the key points, we have a union contract that requires us to increase our union represented police officers by 3.75%. We then carried that same percentage over to all other employees just to keep everybody consistent. That, of course, is a decision that could be changed, but for now, that's what's built into the budget. We do have a couple of positions that we increased to keep competitive. And then we did add 3 positions plus an intern. And you will see in your memo the dollar amount related to each of those positions. That is the wage and benefit amount so that you can see the full impact to the tax levy that those positions would have. Of course, benefits increased. Primarily it was health insurance costs. Not a lot we can do about that at this point. I did build a 4% increase into the property liability and auto insurance, but that may not be enough. So we'll have to wait and see when we get those final numbers. If that comes in even higher, we'll still have to do a little wiggle to figure out how to fit it in. But for now, we have a 4% placeholder in there. Again, as we went through, I've just listed some of the larger changes that we've implemented into the numbers. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to look into those and give you more information, but some of these things, like if you look at the library, we reduced their facilities maintenance budget by 17,000. That's really because something happened in 2025 that was a one-time event. So it's not that we really reduced their budget, it's just that something happened in 25 that isn't going to repeat in 26. So it did have the impact of just lowering their budget. So don't be concerned if you see some things where we say we lowered the budget. It might not be that we really took anything away from them. It was more just one-time things didn't have to be repeated. Let's see, we do have built into the budget a $45,000 budget for code enforcement. That's been something that's been discussed about potentially outsourcing and looking for some help on code enforcement. So that is something that has been added in. Fire and EMS have requested a $25,000 increase that will help cover, as they mentioned, they'll be hiring 4 employees, but 3 of them basically are covered by that grant. So they do have 1 extra position they're bringing in. So the fact that they only had to increase their request by 25,000, or at least our portion of the increase is 25,000, and they're fitting an extra person into that is actually a pretty reasonable request. We did decrease, we feel at this point our future benefits fund is sufficiently funded. So we have historically asked for a $15,000 tax levy to go into that. We don't feel at this point we need to continue doing that. So we've taken that out for the time being. And until we, have some more retirements and see some reduction of that fund, we feel like that fund is sufficiently funded. Community Center has asked for a $35,000 increase for 2026. And then there was no change to what we are requesting for promotion and events. They have historically been getting $100,000 to help with funding primarily the athletic complex, and that request is staying the same. And then we have the equipment replacement program. So last year we had, they had requested $143,000 to help fund part of that program. I said in my memo there was no change, but in the end I did end up making a change to that because in order to stay within our area IP limit, we needed to bring down our expenditures. So I did end up making an adjustment to that and brought that down by 43,000. The request that is in your PDF packet of the actual budget is a reduction of 43,000. So it's only looking for a tax levy support of $100,000. And as I said, that was done simply to make sure we stayed within our ERIP limit. So that's kind of an area that we have control over and we can kind of play with to make things fit. So at the moment, that's where it's at. Now we can get away with that this year. As you can see, the next part of the memo shows the list of equipment that we want to purchase. And our goal has been to purchase these types of equipment without having to borrow for it. And the whole idea behind this equipment replacement program is we want to tax enough to support purchasing this equipment without having to borrow for it. Well, $100,000 isn't going to get us all this equipment. But we're okay this year because at the end of last year, we had some excess funds that you approved transferring into Fund 400 for this type of purpose. So we can get away with it this year, but we are going to have to be careful. At some point, we're going to have to make sure we fund that equipment replacement program sufficiently to be able to start really fully supporting all the equipment they would want to replace. So we're in a good place this year because of some excess money we had last year, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. So in total, we do have $744,000 worth of equipment we're looking to purchase. Again, that list is still up for discussion, but this is what's currently in the budget.
Bill.
So I just want to make a clarification here. Carol talked about surplus revenues last year. That was rolled over into this equipment replacement fund. That excess revenues is from things like fees, interest, that we did not expect throughout the year as part of our budgeting process last year. And so I don't want it to get interpreted that we're, say, overtaxing. It's from revenues other than taxes.
Thank you. All right,
Right, so we did have an increase in necessary taxation for debt service funds, but that's a little bit out of our hands. That's just a matter of, the debt service payments for 2026 are going up a little bit, so that does not affect our ERP, but just wanted to point out the fact that that number is going up. So those are kind of the highlights of what's in here at the moment. And as I said, we're going to be looking for your feedback on this and suggestions, questions, whatever. Let's get those questions answered so that by the time we meet again in 2 weeks, we have a solid proposal.
So as it stands right now, we're looking at, 10 cents increase in the municipal mill rate. That's represents a 1.74% increase. And then the measurement that we've taken the last couple of years, or historically, that same comparison this year is a 1.97 increase of and I'm not going to get this right, but the definition is the average increase over the average house in the impact, the tax impact. So the 1.97 is the average impact, tax impact over the average house assessment.
thank you.
The village share.
Okay. Other things from either of you before we? Are there immediate questions from anyone? And I just encourage you, get your questions in early so Carol doesn't beat on me and say things like, you say you're gonna ask these questions and then you don't, and then they come up at the last minute. So, all of us. Colleen, Jim, have you got a budget meeting scheduled? Okay. Tashidra, hopefully will. Jan? Alicia? All right, good. Thank you. I don't like to get beat up. Jim?
I just wonder if you want a couple more, say, controversial concept or ideas I have so we can argue it or not, the board, or I'm sort of looking at staff because I'm trying not to look Judd straight in the eye, but you want to do that now or just talk it up with Carol?
Talk it up with Carol and Bill,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back to it if it's anything valid that we should deal with.
Okay, thank you.
All your comments are back. All right. All right, moving on, guys. I don't know how this got on my desk, but it's an October 7th agenda. Give this Callie, I have no idea how it came from. Because today's October 7th. Oh, give it back to me. Time to go home. I was thinking it was November 7th. I'm sorry. I need to. You need another break. I need another break. All right. Sorry, guys. All right, here we go. I'm sorry. Now I'm embarrassed. All right. 9.3, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-090. Resolution approving a request for proposals for building inspection services. This is an important one.
So, were you gonna do something over there? You got your mic up there.
I was gonna make a motion to approve or something.
There we go. I'll be
We
quiet.
have a motion. Do we?
And I was gonna second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Item 9.4. Discussion and possible action regarding 2025-091, a resolution authorizing the village president and clerk to execute a development agreement with River Road MF LLC focused on public path development and park improvement fees.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.5, discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 2025-033, an ordinance approving a certified survey map facilitating a River Road MF LLC multiple family residential development northeast of the River Road Bellflower Drive intersection in the Conservancy Place development.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.6, discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 2025-034, an ordinance to approve rezoning of the 21.68 acre parcel as noted on 7277 County Highway I and a certified survey map dividing the same parcel. Village of DeForest, Dane County, Wisconsin.
Motion to approve. It was recommended by P and Z that the board approve it.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Alicia, when these go fast, if you need to stop us, you need to raise your hand. 9.7, discussion and possible action regarding 2025-092, a resolution accepting the lowest qualified bids and awarding a contract for Yahara River Stream Bank Restoration Project, including alternate 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comment?
I just have a question.
Sure.
What is, quickly, Towood owner supplied material?
So tollwood is basically the root wad. They put it in the river, so it becomes like a tollwood, and it creates with that, it causes disturbance in the water, turbulence, which then undercuts the stream bank, which is a nice habitat for fish to reside in. Basically logs.
Thank you.
It's a good thing.
Now, I did notice, I just saw a thing that we have a difference in the resolution versus what's in the packet, and we want to have the dollar amount should be what's stated in up above the amount of 500,377 in the whereas clause that's at the bottom of the screen. Now it's in the middle of the screen. It's moving over and over. It'll be there, should be now therefore be resolved, should be that same number. Because we're adding in the alternate 1. We've collected an awful lot of tollwood and logs, but we may not have enough, and this gives that flexibility for the contractor Drax to go out and get the additional necessary building materials that are needed. Sorry, we missed that. I don't know how we.
I will say that my motion meant to approve the alternate with the 500,000 or 377 in both locations on the resolution.
Okay. Is the second willing to accept that?
Is that me? Second accepts it.
I have one point of discussion. I think it's pretty amazing. I looked at the spread of the 3 different bids, and we are very lucky, and I'm glad to see this project moving forward. So, yeah.
Good, John. Thanks. Good work. All right. We have a motion and a second. If there's no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, guys. We're getting there. 9.7, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025.
9.8.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. 9.8, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-093. A resolution authorizing the village administrator to approve and execute sponsorship agreement renewals.
Motion to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. Are there questions or discussion?
I would just want something in there about future fees. I mean, would there be like, let's say you get down 10 years down the road and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, we should be charging more. How are you gonna handle that?
So I'll defer to Reese in regards to how we handle that now.
Yeah, so I think it would be something that if it was a substantial change to the agreement, if we were looking to change our sponsorship like fees and programs, then that would be something that we would want to bring back forward before the board, because I think that would be a significant enough change.
So just thinking about how this would work, every time an agreement would come up for renewal, as staff, we would review it. And if there needs to be any adjustments, whether it's fees, whether someone's gotten in trouble, then we would I would defer that as administrator to the village board to make those adjustments, and process it that way.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9.9, discussion and possible action regarding an amendment to the second restated master development agreement between Bullish Investments LLC and the Village of DeForest. The village board may convene into closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating a purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene into open session and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session.
Well, the reason for going to closed session to negotiate the terms or the changing of the amendment of the terms of the second restated master development agreement with Bullish is in regards to the number of count of units within the total master development plan. I just want to state that, the limitation of the units are in two separate places. One is, if you remember last year, that number of units changed. It went up in both the development agreement, in which the village negotiated at that time additional parkland. And secondly, it also has to be then approved through the development plan amendment process through the Planning and Zoning Commission. So again, the request is from the developer to increase the total number of units in the master plan, which is also stated in the development agreement. And so again, my recommendation is to go in closed session to discuss parameters within the agreement itself. And then we can advise the developer on what the next steps will be.
All right, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to move into closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Little,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Stefan Hagan Han.
Aye.
Trustee Williams, trustee Allen,
Aye.
President Cahill Wolfgram.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, so using me. Yeah. Thank you. All right, are we here? We're here. All right, item 10, communications were in your packet. 10.1 was the check register. Item 11, commission, committee, and board reports were in your packet for review. And we will move to the president's report. I have two things. First of all, 12.1 is appointment of a Community Development Authority member and Planning and Zoning Commission member. And tonight I am bringing forward Alicia Williams for our second trustee position on the CDA. And for Planning and Zoning, we have Caitlin Shanahan for the alternate position. Caitlin is highly recommended by people in her field. She is a planner, a community planner by education, and currently is employed at the CARPC. I was losing it for a minute. Thank you. So I would recommend approval of their appointments, and there will be another group at the next meeting. Oh, and the third thing, thank you guys, is that Mike Brogy, who was the alternate, it will become the regular appointed person to the commission with your concurrence. He is replacing Mr. Nagel, whose wife had a baby, and he's been traveling more, so he's reducing his involvement, and we thank him for his service. He's been a good member. So there's three. Thank you guys for reminding me. I have that in the other folder, but you know, that's too many papers for this old woman.
Motion to approve, Jane.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes on the review process for our administrator. As I mentioned earlier, and I want to reiterate, we need to get those your comments into me and your scoring sheets that I sent to you a while ago, a week or so ago. And I also need, we need to get this process done, because if there's any raise or anything beyond what is general, we need to get it in the budget. So we need this sooner rather than later. And we've had a lot going on, so it's been kind of delayed. But I will encourage you to get those into me as quickly as possible. I have questions going to Bill tomorrow, hopefully. And then we will have his review during closed session. So we get that done at the next meeting. Any questions on that? Donation. I just want to know who submitted them so I can check your name on. Yeah, I'm good with it. They're not going anywhere. They're just going to me. So thank you. All right, with that, I would ask if do you have anything else, Bill? Any other business that lawfully comes before the board? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
9 o'clock.